Welcome to another episode of the Uncensored Entrepreneurs. Today, we're joined with Steve Rivers, managing partner at Valenta, a global firm that's helping small and medium-sized businesses access the same automation, outsourcing, and digital transformation tools that used to be only reserved for Fortune 1000 companies. Steven's mission is simple: to empower entrepreneurs to scale smarter, streamline operations, and unlock growth through innovation. We'll be diving into how he and Valenta are making automation accessible and why that matters now more than ever. So stay tuned, and we'll see you on the inside. Welcome to the Uncensored Entrepreneurs. Today, we're sitting down with Steve Rivers, managing partner at Valenta. It's a global firm redefining how small and mid-sized businesses access top-tier consulting and operational support. With over 25 years of experience in business development and digital transformation, Steve helps companies implement enterprise-level solutions like outsourcing, automation, and virtual staffing, which was once reserved for the big corporations. He's based out of Spartanburg, South Carolina, one of my neighbors here. This Clemson grad is a family man, an adventurer, and a grilling enthusiast. I'm going to hear a little bit more about that one later, Steve. Okay. It's time to explore how Steve and Valenta are making high-impact business tools more accessible than ever. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yes. Glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so for the people just kind of listening in, and I told Star a little bit about you. You know, you're right here in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. You and I do some networking together. We're talking about ways that we can collaborate and to serve others. And I think, you know, not only is your personal story, which we're going to tap into a little bit, very essential for the people that are looking to take their skills and migrate into, both the business entrepreneur world from the corporate world, but also just the way that, your passion behind some of your skill sets, how you've tapped into that and how you're serving and helping businesses at all levels, quite honestly. Mm-hmm. And I know that when we first met, I think it was in one of our traditional networking groups where you've got that pitch, right? And when you talk about automation, when you talk about, the things that you do for bigger corporations, many people can't necessarily relate to like, wow, like that's bigger than what I currently am in my business. Maybe I'm just a mom and pop business, or, I have a small products and services, business that's, one or two employees. But when you and I sat down and we started talking even deeper, you have solutions for every single person on their journey in their business. So very excited to have you on here today. And so that you can tell us a little bit more about what some of those things are and things that you've done. So let's kind of kick things off. Is there anything else you want just let our viewers know a little bit more about you that I didn't necessarily capture in the introduction, and hopefully I got that all right.
Well, I grew up in Duncan, went to Clemson, and then moved to Spartanburg, so I'm a world traveler.
Mm-hmm. By the way, that's all like within maybe 30 miles, right? So
exactly. Yeah. So love the area. I've got friends in Wisconsin and friends in Canada, and they tell me about their weather, and I'm like, I love it right here.
Yeah, that's right.
Just far south enough where it's not too hot, and this is a great location. Love the location. But I worked for over 20 years. I was in the environmental services business. We did hazmat spill response, and we did confined space cleaning. We did waste disposal and all sorts of fun stuff. And a friend of mine was the president and I was the VP, and we grew it to a $14 million a year company. And then he sold the company in December of 2020. And I agreed to hang around for a year to help with the transition. And that's when I figured out that I wasn't ready to retire. My wife was certainly not ready to have me underfoot. But I had too much autonomy in the past 20 years to be a cog on a gear in the corporate machine. That just wasn't going to work. So I started with some job coaches and some personality tests and did some deep dives on some franchises. And I settled on Valenta and bought into that company. And I have the South Carolina territory. And the fun part of what I was the head problem solver troubleshooter. Find that win-win solution, especially in hazmat where, everybody's scared and you come in and you save the day. But to find that win-win to where everybody's happy. You didn't talk somebody into buying something that they didn't really want or need. You made a difference, and you help people and you serve people. And there's nothing like that. And when it comes to sales, people say, well, are you a hunter or are you a farmer? And I'm both, because you find that new customer, and that's an adrenaline hit. Man, that's a great feeling. But it's also those long-term, year after year relationships to where to where you working with people that you know and you like and you care about, and that means a lot to me too. So Valenta, we automate the boring stuff.
All right.
Almost every business has computers, and almost every business, they have to sit down at that computer and they have to do stuff that is boring and monotonous and repetitive. And it's like, oh my God, I've got all this important stuff to do, but before I can go home, I have got to enter these purchase orders or these invoices, or I've got to get these details and these templates on the schedule for tomorrow. And we come in and we teach software robots how to do that.
Now, well, I can tell you, Steve, that I'm speaking for Star. Myself, we talk a great deal about the boring stuff, right? That we don't like in our business. And one of our other co-hosts is not with us today, unfortunately. But Tina, same exact thing. So across the board, I'm going to speak for all entrepreneurs and business owners that there is a lot of boring stuff. And some people love that, right? That's their thing. I am not one of those individuals. So tell me again, continue to expand. Tell me how to get rid of this stuff.
Well, for example, Walmart uses over 500 bots. They handle everything from PTO to dead stock to inventory to purchase orders to invoices. And for example, Canon USA, they found themselves in a big bottleneck because they were having to process 5,000 dealer invoices every month. And it took a small army to do it, but it was all just open the email, open the invoice, get the information, put the information in the 3 different places that it needs to go. And it was just really mind-numbing, repetitive work. So they taught software bots how to do it. And then they were able to not get rid of those people, but to give those people more value-added, more important stuff to do. A software robot mimics a person. One thing, when you tell somebody that you do digital automation, they think, oh my gosh, that means new software. That means new systems. My people are going to kill me. It's probably going to be expensive. We're going to have to sign a 5-year contract. We don't even know if it's going to work. You can see the panic. And sometimes you can see the shutdown because, oh, my team would kill me if I say we're going to do something new. But a software robot is a piece of software that mimics, it lives in the cloud, and it mimics a person. So it uses your computer, your systems, it logs in with a username and password, and it follows a script or a flow chart. And it can be a complicated eye chart of a flow chart, but it follows a script and it does the boring, repetitive stuff. For example, a bot can know that at 3:00 every day, I'm going to check this email inbox and I'm going to open the email. I'm going to open the attachment. I'm going to recognize it as a purchase order. I'm going to scrape the information off of it. and I'm going to take that information, I'm going to put it in QuickBooks, and I'm going to put it in the CRM software, and I'm going to put it in this Excel spreadsheet report, and then I'm going to send an email and tell everybody what I did. And the thing about bots is once you get them trained, they don't make mistakes.
When automation first came around, when we talked about like bots being able to perform some type of a task, anything that's embedded into a computer, any type of process, they were the ones, right? They were the ones that kind of pioneered all of this because they could afford to pay millions and millions of dollars to develop these tools. And so people like Star and I, and we do a great deal of business. We have a lot of things happening, but if you go back 15 years ago, we weren't able to afford this kind of stuff. So, so now with that being done, you're seeing obviously a huge shift, a change in the fact that you can obviously serve large corporations, but you're also able to do some of the same things to help, those people that are just kind of on an island on their own, right? Running their business each and every day and spending, 4 hours when business closes on their books.
Yeah. And for example, there's a local finance company and they do loans, and it's not unusual for them to get hundreds of requests every day for a loan extension. And in the past, if a person agreed on that extension, then they would have to spend the next 15 or 20 minutes changing all the records, updating all the forms, changing all the payment schedules and the amounts, and then sending all the email notices out and restructuring everything. Now they just hand it over to a bot. Wow. And now they're up to using like 8 full-time bots. But see, they have over 100 people in their IT department. So they can do this sort of continuous improvement and change. But most medium-sized businesses don't have an RPA developer on staff, and they don't want to have to go get the robotics licenses and all that stuff. So they're really shut off from that. So Valenta started in 2014, and their idea was, well, why don't we take these tools and make them available as a managed service? We will, come in and develop these and schedule it and maintain it. So it's not only running flawlessly in the background, but there are people that are doing the scheduling and the monitoring and the changes and other things that might need to be done.
I really like that. And when you and I sat down before, you referred a great deal towards virtual staffing. And I love how you relate virtual staffing and these bots in kind of the same likeness in regards to the fact that if I'm a person that needs help in my business, rather than you coming in as a coder and, sitting there, for months and months and months, recoding things, you come in with the approach that we've got X amount of tasks, which are going to require X amount of hours, and our bots are going to work at this rate to be able to perform that for you. Hopefully I captured all that, but expand a little bit more about like what that looks like, meaning that when someone dives in, are they going to have to shell out all this money to have you create this entire software package for them?
Oh yes, you have to bring me a whole suitcase full of money, leave it on the front porch, and then if it's enough, we'll talk later.
Okay, that sounds like a good business model.
That would be great, but no, it's really easy. If someone has an office process, first of all, it's fun to walk into a business and go, okay, what do you hate doing? What is it that you really don't like doing, the boring stuff that's driving you nuts? And if somebody's got something they're thinking that they would like to automate, then we'll get on a Teams meeting and I'll get them to share their screen, and I'll actually record them doing the process and talking about the process. And then I'll send that recording to our developers. We have a team in Colombia and a team in India, and then they will, look at that and go, yeah, I really think this is a great thing this is a great candidate for automation. And then we'll proceed from there. And then we will estimate how many weeks it's going to cost to develop it, or how many weeks it's going to take to develop it. And then we charge, our development team charges like $750 a week. And if it's something simple, then I might get it done in 3. or 4. And if it's not, if it's something complicated, it might take 5 or 6 weeks. But very upfront about the process and the cost. And we determine how many hours a day you're going to need that robot, or you're going to need that bot. And it's $30 an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
With a minimum of 1 hour per day. So you might need the robot for 1 day, for 1 hour, or 3 hours, or 6 hours, but we custom fit it to what you need. And
for the application.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The bot doing the work can be triggered by 3 things. Number 1, by a schedule at 3 o'clock every day, the bot's going to do this, or by pushing a button. Whenever I push the button, the bot is going to go into this file and it's going to do this, or by an event. If something happens, then the bot knows to go out and do the work.
Yeah. So go ahead, Star. It's amazing.
That weekly feed to have it developed, and then after that, you charge them $30 per hour based on how many hours they need it. Is that correct?
A minimum of $30 per day, I guess you could look at it as. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and they don't call in sick. They don't need Social Security taken out. They don't leave their password on a sticky note. And very reliable, and they never complain.
And that accuracy piece is so amazing that you talked about that, because like you said, there's when you have humans involved, there's human error. And I can't tell you how many times we have to go back, do audits, there's discrepancy, and then you're spending hours or days just trying to solve that one little small problem to figure out where that discrepancy is coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to become efficient, right, when you can't measure the metrics. We talk a lot about metrics, and when you have a bot involved, everything's measurable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like walking into a room and everybody's doing long division math using a paper and pencil. And you say, "Can I show you this calculator?" And sometimes they're like, "No, we just bought a new box of pencils. We don't want any of that stuff." But sometimes you could really see the wheels turning. The people that are where it's continuous improvement is important to them. That's where you see a lot of effect.
Oh yeah, that was key. Continuous improvement. Before the show started, Star and I were talking a great deal about the economy and the things that we should do. The businesses that survive start looking internally at where they can, whether it's cutting costs or shifting their energy and their efforts towards other ways of becoming either more lean or more manageable, cutting out some of the fat in the business. And so you are absolutely one of those solutions for sure in regards to that. So all right, so give our viewers a little idea about kind of on 2 different scales. You talked about big business and all the different bots and all the different methods. What about just the everyday mom and pop that's just they have a product, they have a service, they're trying to do as much as they can, and then at nighttime they're working on their QuickBooks, and they're also trying to figure out sales and sending out emails and replying back to people and answering the phone, right? When people call, what are some things that you can do to help that client base as well?
Yeah, well, we have an accountant, an accounting firm that's a client, and they're bookkeepers for several hundred customers. And one of the things that bogs them down is bank reconciliations, because it's a lot of clicking and copying and pasting and matching up and figuring out, and it really slows them down. So we teach a bot how to do it. We have a bot with a human in the loop. We have over 650 employees all over the world, and they, for example, in this case, the bot does the bank reconciliations, and then in the evening, a CPA in India logs in for an hour and looks at everything the bot did, made sure that it made sense. Sometimes the bot will have a problem because the client name was spelled wrong, or something was entered incorrectly, or an amount was obviously wrong. And so that person in the loop will take a look at it, make sure everything is fine. And then when the team, the local team comes in the morning, all their reconciliations are done. and any problems were handled by a CPA, while everybody slept. Have another client to where when they get a new customer and they have a new project, that customer has to be put in the CRM. It has to be put in the CAD software. It has to be put in the manufacturing cutting software. It has to be put in the scheduling software, and it has to be put in QuickBooks. And that's the one thing they really hate doing. So now we taught a bot how to take that information and how to do it.
Yeah.
To move it.
We talked about that in Star. I'm curious to see how this relates to some of the, your business model, because you have a great deal of fulfillment. I know that you work on as well. And even though you and I do automate to a certain extent, right? We talk about things that we do to create these automation strands. Many times, two different companies or multiple departments aren't speaking to one another in the right way. And so it's duplicating work over and over and over again. Star, does that resonate with you a little bit too?
Yeah.
Definitely. Especially in my past business, when I had the brick and mortars, a lot of inventory things, a lot of discrepancies, one person doing something, the other person comes in and they say something different. And also with the accounting, the bookkeeping side, I really like that example that you gave, Steve, because I remember, you kind of, the person that we hire for bookkeeping, they have to go through and do all that manual process, cost involved for them. And that made me also think about that. How can you actually grow your business by using these bots? And you're then saving a lot of expenses that you have to typically pay for, which actually results in more profit for the company. So
in most cases, right? Like when you think about it, most people think that when they bring in someone to do a new service, it's adding more, meaning that now it's another expense that I have to have in order to operate my business. But you're coming in, and by saving them time, finding ways of streamlining certain tasks, you essentially are finding the money that not only does it create more profit for them, but then they also have the ability to pay you and Valenta to help them with that service. So it makes complete sense. What are some other examples that you've seen out there on a regular basis in regards to automation, and where you've really been able to kind of help people?
We recently did a really cool automation where the client, they were constantly had lots of packages coming in. And of course they had the shipping papers accompanying the packages, but they wanted to be able to confirm the receipt of that package in their system. So what they did is we developed a bot, and now what they do is they take a picture of every shipping label on every box when it comes in, and the bot looks at it, scrapes the information, and puts it in all these all these places and all these reports. So now they're able to just do things on the fly. We got another client where they do work, and they do work for a large company, and a lot of times, they get an email from the large company saying, you did 30 jobs for us last week, and we're going to pay. These are the ones we're going to send you a check, and these are the ones we're paying this week. And on these, we're going to retain 10% because that's how we have to do it on these particular clients. And it was just a big burden on them to have to stop and figure out, match up all these payments and all these with the proper transactions and so forth. And so we're able to teach a bot how to match it and how to do it. And so the bot would say, okay, you had these transactions, and I was able to do 95% of them. And here's the problem that I had with one. And the bot doesn't have to do the whole procedure from end to end. It can stop at several points along the journey and get a judgment call from a person. So we can collect the information, find out what they want to do, and say, okay, the customer is requesting this. Is that a yes or no? And if it's a yes, the bot goes one direction, and if it's a no, the bot goes the other direction. So it was a robot, RPA, robotics process automation. It was developed years ago. And the reason it was, first, I think it started in the banking industry, but the main reason was that this system did not talk to this system. Like this email, the email doesn't talk to QuickBooks, but the information has got to get from A to B. And the only way to do that in the past was with a person.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to date myself, but I think back to some of those early days of working in DOS, where you would fill out all of this information, and then you'd go on to the next department or task, and they'd have to fill out all of the same information again. And it's just over and over, that repetitiveness, where so many times you wish there was a way to do it once, and then all of that information continue to transfer the process.
Yeah.
So today we have Steve Rivers from Valenta, one of the managing partners here in South Carolina. The best way to reach Steve is valenta.io, and you'll see that in the body of the podcast later. But .io/manager/Stephen STEPHEN-Rivers RIVERS. So you'll see that there. But for those just listening in, definitely reach out and connect. And I have a question. What type of project, is there any project that's too small for you to attack, or are you willing to dive in and look at, anything that's out there that when people have, when they're looking for a solution?
I have found that there's no such thing as too small, because once somebody uses a bot, and that boring stuff just sort of gets done in the background, not only do they not want to let that bot go, but they're like, okay, what can we automate next? This is cool. And whatever the office bottlenecks are, we can either automate or we can outsource it.
Okay. My wheels are already turning. I'm like,
yeah. And we're not trying to replace people. We're not trying to replace people. We're trying to help them. I keep this on my desk as a reminder. This is my dad's slide rule. It was manufactured in 1951, and he used it at Clemson University. And if you wanted to do sine, cosine, tangent, logarithms, this is what you used. And it was replaced by the scientific calculator, and now it's been replaced by this thing. So it wasn't about people losing their jobs. It was about people getting new tools so that they could do more. Yeah. Now, if you made slide rules back when Texas Instrument introduced their sign, you weren't very happy. But it's not about replacing people. It's about giving
innovation, right?
Tools.
It's innovation, figuring out how to. And by the way, that's really key to both Star and I and our audience. We talk a great deal about scaling, how to scale your business, and you're one solution, but a very powerful solution on how to be able to do that, especially when in many cases we're all using part-time, individuals. We're using VAs. We're using, we're depending on software applications to help us. I will tell you, let's use that as the example. Actually, let's put that out there for our audience. You and I talked about the fact that if I have one piece of software from, whatever that brand name is, that's doing something for me application wise, let's say it's one of the Microsoft Suite. And then I purchase another piece of software, has its own login, has its own way, its own purpose. I'm working in both of those systems. Can your bot actually integrate between the two? Can you bridge the gap?
Yes. Just like a person would go into that first system and copy the information that needed, and then open that second system and put that information in it. A bot could do that, very, very simply. In fact, I've got a client, and it's a one-off project, but it's going to be a pretty big one. All their customers' tax returns were in an old style software, and now they've moved to a new style software, and the old style software doesn't talk to the new one and doesn't want to. So to get those tax returns moved from A to B, you have to go into that person, click their name, open the file, save it as a PDF, rename it to that person, and then put it over in the new storage software where it's supposed to go. And that over 10,000 returns need to be moved. Wow. And that would drive a person crazy. Can you imagine doing that 8 hours a day? You'd go nuts. So we're teaching a bot how to do it. And the bot, as soon as they get out of tax season, the bot's going to get busy moving returns from A to B.
And the cost, like traditionally speaking, the cost of that normally would be hiring a huge amount of staff and training them into procedures, the SOPs, to be able to handle that. I mean, and so I love the fact that, when we talk about bots and we talk about automation, once you've established what that SOP is, it performs it each and every time. And as you said earlier, it never gets sick. So super efficient. I like to take this time to just learn a little bit more about you. Let's step out of the business world for a moment. I know that you're a Clemson grad, and obviously, I mean, here in South Carolina, very, very good university. So let's talk a little bit more about, some of the things that just kind of make you tick. What do you do when you're not working on bots, Steve?
When I'm not working on bots, I'm an amateur mixologist, so I'm always experimenting with different recipes. Moderation, kids, it's all about moderation.
Yes.
But, I'm an amateur mixologist. I do competitive shooting, competitive pistol shooting. I started that about a year ago. I'd always been around guns and done target shooting and so forth. But started competing last April. Got into that and really enjoy that. And so you can tell I'm a nerd. We have an old guys Fortnite club.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
We have guys in Canada, Wisconsin, Indiana, Iowa, Georgia, Charleston, and I always said it's not a game, it's a place, but we like to log on in the evening. You know how in the old days you stop by the bar and you talk to your buddies and you maybe shoot a game of pool or pinball or something like that. Well, we all get together and play Fortnite and give each other a hard time.
Oh, but here's the interesting thing. When you talk about Fortnite, okay, people typically are already, they have this image of, a certain demographic, right? An age. And then when you talk about competitive shooting, you just started a year ago. I mean, this just proves that you can start and do anything at any point in your life. I mean, and so that's pretty amazing. And so it's fascinating. I didn't know that about you. When you talked about also in your intro, you pulled off of your bio that you're a grilling enthusiast as well. All right, let's talk about that a moment.
Several years ago, well, I just do a lot of stuff on the green egg, and then several years ago, I bought a Blackstone griddle, and have really been experimenting and doing a lot of fun. You can do breakfast, you can do anything. It's amazing the versatility. It's like having your own little Waffle House kitchen. You can do steak, you can do chicken, you can do shrimp. My wife is a pescatarian, so you can do salmon. And,
Star, do you even know what a Waffle House is?
Yes.
I didn't know, like when coming from Michigan, right? I've been here in South Carolina for 16 years, and I never knew what a Waffle House was. But when I came down here, I realized that it's very prominent. It's established here. They're everywhere. It's like, up north we had Denny's, right? But anyways, well, that's good. I wanted to point out that because there's a few things I'm interested in tapping into all of the fun things that you're doing as well. Bots, creating automation, it's going to really turn the needle for many businesses that we serve, including some other projects that I'm even thinking about, future looking, and like you said, Star, the wheels turning in regards to that. But I didn't want to dismiss the fact that I'd love to go shooting with you. But you're competitive, so just be gentle on me there.
The group I joined is Action Shooters International, and they shoot once a month at the Polk County Gun Club. Okay, and it's designed for beginners.
Well, then there you
Very,
go.
very
All right.
safe, but it's designed for people that you see these competitions online on YouTube or whatever, and the guys are running and jumping and kneeling and crouching
Yeah.
and switching guns and all that. It's much more. It's very, very safe, but it's much more less intense.
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
Good.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's designed for older guys. I don't need to be running and jumping.
Older
and
guys
diving.
like me.
Yeah, old guys like me, especially. Yeah, but
no, but that definitely sounds like fun. And definitely want to try some of your barbecue. We'll talk about that another time. But I really appreciate you coming on today. And again, I think that when you're talking about, and many times people don't like to get the price points kind of out there, but I mean, man, when you're talking about $750 a week, and then you're talking about $30 an hour to be able to really like transform and change someone's business, that is huge. I mean, just for us to be able to hire someone, we're spending much more than that to
yeah. And if 6 months in 6 months you decide you don't want to do it, then it's a month-to-month service. We don't.
That was my next.
We don't hold you to a contract. I hate contracts.
Yeah. Things are constantly changing and evolving. Does your company work on new technology? For example, like voice AI is a big thing right now. Will you guys be doing any voice bots?
Yes, we are working on UiPath, especially is one of the global providers of software robotics, and they are we're going to see AI being introduced into that process to where not only can the bot follow a script, but now it can make decisions and maybe do some creatives. There's some AI, agentic AI incorporated into that. So that's going to be exciting and something to look forward to. I think a lot of AI stuff is not ready for prime time. I can easily catch a GPT making stuff up. That's one of my hobbies is to go to Chat GPT and Claude and DeepSeek and those guys and catch them in a hallucination and go, nope. And when you tell them they're wrong, they go, you know what, you're right. Oh, okay, I'll make a note of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, we look forward to seeing how that journey continues to evolve with yourself and with Valenta. What are some other key points as we kind of wrap up on today's show? What are some other things that you really would like to send to our audience to let them know these are things that we can help you with, how you and Valenta, some things to identify and then really like what are some of the next steps as well?
Yeah. We go to a lot of effort to make sure that it is a painless procedure. There's no heavy selling, there's no pressure selling, there's no contracts or anything like that. If you identify the things that are bogging your people down, well, let's record them and let's turn the development team loose and see, can we automate the whole thing? Can we automate all of it? Do we need to put a person in the loop? What can we do to make sure that you're continuously improving? Yeah. And once you have that team in place, then you have the robotic software, you have the development team and the managed services team that's offshore, nearshore. And if you've got any questions or concerns, you have me as a local managing partner, then that can help make sure everything's on track.
Yeah, absolutely. And because obviously you're the managing partner here in South Carolina, we have a vast audience, right, from coast to coast and even global, but from at least coast to coast. What if we have some customers or clients that could use your services and we connect them with you? Could you get them into the right,
I can work with, if they connect, to somebody in my network, then I can help them right here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Well, that's good. That's good to know. Star's on the West Coast. And so, she's got her hands on that side of the business. And
I have a financial planner, in New York.
Okay.
And he was in my network and I was able to set him up with a paraplanner.
Okay. Okay.
So, this person prepares, helps prepare the financial documents and the asset maps and the e-money and all that stuff, so that when he, as an advisor, walks in and sits down to meet with a client, all the information he needs is right there in front of him. So it takes a lot off of his plate. So, but the point is, if they're in my network, it doesn't matter where they are.
Got it.
Right.
Sounds good. Any last thoughts, Star?
No, I like this conversation. I think Robert and I were talking about how sometimes technology can be overwhelming to our audience, especially who are just starting out. But I really like the way, or I don't want to say just starting out, but more of a solopreneur. I love your price points. It's accessible for any size business. And also the analogies that you shared with comparing, pencils to different things like that. You're right. These owners want to keep holding on to doing themselves. And I've always been the person, I love teams. So these bots just really sound amazing. And I can see how it can help.
You'd have to name them though. Like if I'm going to hire a bot, I've got to give it a name, right? So
I have a client in Greenville, and their bot is Bob.
There you go. Right.
Bob the bot.
It performs a task, and I'm sure the other employees though wouldn't like it if I always referred to the fact that why can't you be more like Bob, right? So
yeah. And I think it was I was listening to an earlier podcast that you guys did, and it was a live one, but I think it was Star that you guys were talking about goals for 2025 and things, and I think it was Star that said that automation was one of her goals for 2025 too. So yeah.
Absolutely. Always looking to streamline. So we'll throw some things at you and see if it's
sure
something that you're up for sure. Again, we've had a great time today. Thanks for being on, Steve. So Steve can be found at valenta.io. So he's a managing partner with Valenta. Start with him first. We'll have all the information and ways that you can get on his calendar. It all starts with a conversation, right? And when you think of, these type of projects being very expensive, they aren't. You've proven that today. And so once again, we appreciate it. We look forward to having you on the show again. And then, what I always like to do is if we can bring some projects, or our clients can bring some projects to you, then we like to bring those success stories to the forefront. So absolutely. All right. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time today. And tune in for another episode of the Uncensored Entrepreneurs every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you again.
Thanks, guys.